Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live stream. We are talking about little messages from heaven or Godwinks today. I thought it would be fun to call this Godwinks with Gwen. So welcome, Gwen. It's funny.
Hello, thank you.
I've got like hair all over the place. I see it
Oh.
right now. Oh, okay. So anyway, Godwinks with Gwen. So today, I just feel like the holidays are such a hard time and Christmas is so challenging. I know I have found myself having real struggles right now. And this has been an ongoing thing. Now, this is my fourth Christmas without Andy. And every year I go through this struggle and these hard times. And so since I started doing the podcast 2 years ago, I thought we needed something uplifting this week.
Yeah.
We need to hear little stories that make you smile and make us think about our loved ones in a positive way. And so 2 years ago we started, and I had a lot of people tell their stories. We were at a little Christmas party at Starlight Ministries, and I took people one at a time, and other people kind of wrote in, and you helped me out with that one. We talked and got little messages of hope. And so that was so great that I thought last year we're going to do it again. And last year I called it Messages from Heaven. And then this year, now we've started doing these live streams. And I thought, let's do it again. I mean, but now I've got the fun alliteration of Godwinks with Gwen.
That's funny.
So here we go.
I often thought about calling my business Grieving with God and Gwen.
Oh, that would have been really pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Grieving with God and Gwen. I like it. Okay. All right. So I've got a first one is kind of a quick one, but I think it's really fun and just neat. So this was written in by Carolyn, and Carolyn actually was on the show a while back. I forgot to look up which episode she was, but she's Jimmy's mom. And she told a story of just something that happened to her recently. So she says, my odometer turned to 44,444, near where Jimmy left us. Spiritual angel number 4 is a sign from your angels that they are working hard on your behalf. Your angels are contacting you with a message about what you need to do and to achieve your goals. Therefore, open your mind and heart and prepare yourself to receive guidance. Oh, I just love that. How cool is that?
That is awesome. And I love what she says at the end about opening up your heart and mind and to prepare. And I mean, I wasn't planning to say this, but as you read this came into my mind about even Mary in the story of, she opened up her heart to what the plan was for her, and she pondered those things. And I think sometimes, as grieving moms, just to ponder, and just to treasure those things and be open to them. And some of the stories tonight you have to be open for, right?
And I think, how cool was it that she actually was paying close enough attention?
Right.
Notice that she hit 44,444 just right as she was going past that spot on the road. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just love that. So it's funny because she wrote that. I don't even think she knew that we were going to do this episode. She just was writing to me about something else and brought it up. And then I quickly wrote back to her asking if I could share it because I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So we can go on to the next one. So the next one is an interesting story too. So the next one's actually, we have 3 from one person. Okay. So it's from Debbie. I don't know if Debbie's watching. If Debbie's watching, if you're watching, certainly jot something down in the comments if you're here, especially if you're here and I submitted your story and you submitted your story, pop in so we know that you're on so I can maybe do a little bit of an extra shout out. But anyway, Debbie wrote and has been writing quite a bit to me about her daughter, Naomi, which I love, by the way. You don't have to want to be on the show to write to me. I love writing to people, hearing people, sharing with people. It does not mean you have to be on the podcast. So keep that in mind. But anyway, Debbie and I have been writing, and she said, she got partway through and she said, I don't know if you've ever thought of doing this in a little Godwink episode. And she actually used that term, Godwinks. So she said, because I have 3 stories that I would like to contribute to that. And
Mhm.
I wrote back because we had just decided to do yet another one. And I said, in fact, I've had 2 over Christmas and I'll have a third and I would love to read your story. So I am, oh, and Debbie, you are on. That's so awesome. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to be able to read these stories. And I think, Gwen, I'm going to have you start and read the first one.
Okay, the first one or the second one that I had
I think you.
you want me to read the first one about the
Oh
dream?
yes, I think we.
Okay.
I think we had decided to do it the other way. But go ahead.
Right. That's okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Um, she was saying, in a dream which Naomi walked through her old bedroom doorway. In my dream, I had woken up and gone down to her room to look in, something I did at night after she died, but saw a light coming from under the door. I ran upstairs and got Mike out of bed, and we both walked in, and there was an opening in the ceiling at that moment she walked in. I just stared and started crying, saying, "You're back. I have missed you so much. Tell us where you've been. How did the accident happen? Did you know?" This was so vivid. She was wearing an outfit she had worn at her graduation party, a white shirt and a pink skirt. What was different is she looked like she was so mature, older, I would guess, in her 30s. She smiled, her eyes slightly, tearing, stepping towards Mike and I, hugging each of us at the same time. She looked at me and said, "Mom, I am okay. I love you." I could feel her forgiveness towards Mike and a deep love bond with me. She stared at me for a few moments and I woke up. I knew this was real. I had seen her and she was in heaven, but yet somehow with us too. No one can tell me differently. I immediately wrote down the details of this dream.
Oh, that's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful story.
And I love when she said, "No one can tell me otherwise."
I know.
One thing in starting this, and sometimes I always say to people, all these moms are the experts. I'm not the expert just because this is my career, right? But I will say that sometimes my 34 years of experience helps. And in
Mhm.
this case, I can tell you that I have heard so many of these stories from so many people in all walks of life, every kind, to not believe that they're not true. And I tell
Right.
people, don't let anyone tell you, because I think sometimes people might look at bereaved people and go, "Oh, no, didn't really happen."
Yeah, she just wanted
Yeah,
it to be there. So
yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
right.
Hmm. Well, I was also thinking too, recently, I had a psychologist on talking about dreams and how these
Oh,
grief dreams can be so healing and so good for people. Uh,
mhm.
and he also suggested when you have one of these grief dreams to write it down right
Right.
away. So I thought that was great that she just wrote it down
Mhm.
immediately, just so
Right,
you remember all of those details, because so often I think you can forget. So
right.
that's pretty special. And down to the outfit. I love that too.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So I will read her second story now, even though I think I originally assigned it to you. Sorry. But so the second was when I went to the cemetery. Her headstone had a well known depiction of Madonna and child. She is holding the baby on her chest, looking up, and the baby is snuggled in with face visible. This was etched, painted in Vermont, and sent back here. When I first saw it, I said, "There's adult lips on the infant." And I had given him my own personal print of this to go by. The granite company came back, took it out, and sent it back for a redo. So on a very difficult day, I went to the cemetery. No one else is there because she's in a newer part of the cemetery. I stood in front of the stone in so much raw, aching pain. I remember looking up to the blue sky, no clouds, and the beautiful sunshine, thinking, why? Why, God, after all we went through together, would you take her? Are you real? If so, why allow this to happen? I looked back down, and there in the corner of a Madonna's eye was a drop of water coming down. It gives me chills to think of that now. Nowhere was there any water. It had not rained. I had not been crying or sobbing, just in so much pain and grief. In that moment, I realized God lost his son too. He does care. He does know the pain. And this was a reminder to me that she was with him. I see that so vividly when I think about it.
Mm. Amazing.
I mean, it's hard to even know what to say, isn't it? I
Mhm.
mean, what a beautiful picture to have that happen and to have that little drop of water just fall, just to end up right in the corner of the eye, especially when she was talking about all of her doubts, right? That's what was
Well,
going through her mind.
yeah.
Her
Mhm.
mind at that moment was full of doubt.
Well, and to go right from questioning God, which is very normal, no judgment
Mhm.
there, into making the comparison that he had lost his son too. I
Well,
don't
and I
know.
think not only that, but I also have had so many people tell me, when I have these doubts on how could God let this happen, I I always have to come back to the fact that God didn't want this to happen. God didn't want this accident to happen, and God is there crying with me.
Mhm,
And as she was mourning and grieving, she
mhm.
saw evidence of a mourning
Yes.
God, of a
Mhm,
God who was mourning with her. So not
mhm,
only maybe mourning his own son, but mourning her daughter,
mhm.
right? I mean, just
Absolutely.
acknowledging that pain of that horribleness.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just thought that was beautiful, beautiful.
That is.
Mhm. Okay. You
Okay,
wanna read the next one?
sure.
Okay.
The last one was on my birthday, 3 months after she died. I had 3 girls at the time, ages 4, 3, and not quite 2. I had asked Mike not to tell the girls what day it was. I wanted the day to pass. It was too painful without her here. He did not and picked up a small cake. I had all I could do not to break down crying when the older 2 girls started singing happy birthday. It was awful. I hurt so much. He took them out of the room, and I put my head on the table and just cried silently. Shortly, Rebecca came back into the room, pulled her little body up onto the chair next to me, and touched my arm. I look up to see her staring at me with her blue eyes and round toddler face. Rebecca was slow to talk. She was only saying a few words. She just started singing very softly and slowly, clear as day, with so much love in her eyes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. She said quietly and slid off the chair and left the room. Rebecca had never called me mom. None of the girls did. It was always mommy. Rebecca's voice was mature yet soft and so well spoken. I knew it was Naomi, utilizing her little sister's voice to remind me that she knew the day and loved me. I believe, no doubt, this was a sign.
Oh.
Mhm.
And just to give a little more information, so, uh, she said that the girls were 4, 3, and not quite 2. The one who came up, Rebecca, was the one that was not quite 2. So she was
Ah,
less than 2 years old,
yeah,
and
and so
she's the
clear.
one that was singing happy birthday in a clear
Mhm.
voice, "Happy birthday, mom."
Yeah.
So that's,
Mhm.
I mean, wow.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I want to address there was a comment written by
Yes.
Sandy, why haven't I had any dreams yet? It's been 2 months. Um, One of the things when you mentioned it that actually came to my mind, and I thought I chose not to say it, but now with this comment I will, because in support group, oftentimes when people share a dream, other people get jealous because they didn't have them,
Mhm.
especially when they're as vivid as the one described about the clothes
Yes.
and
Yes.
people get jealous. And what I have come to the conclusion, and I hope this helps you, Sandy, is they come when we need them. So if you're not having a dream, you don't need it yet. And it may be a while and maybe not at all. But when they happen, they're like something that we need to give that, and I think in this story, it was some kind of um, recollection of them
Well, and a
hugging
little
and that mending of the
reconciliation.
relationship.
Mhm. Trying to heal that relationship.
Yeah.
I would say to Sandy, I have hardly had any dreams. I hardly ever
Mhm.
have. And that is a painful thing when I
Right.
hear other people dreaming about their kids
Mhm.
because I've hardly had any. I mean, I can
Mhm.
it's been 4 years. I mean, it's not 4 years, it's 3.5, but this is my 4th Christmas, that's why I'm meaning that. But it's been
Mhm.
3.5 years since Andy died, and I bet I haven't had more than 5 total
Mhm.
in 3.5
Mhm.
years.
Right.
Um, and it's hard because I want to, because I want to
Mhm.
have dreams, but the ones I've had oftentimes, he's been not been well, or it's been this sort of confusing thing
Mhm.
and one time he was okay, and he actually said to me in the dream, "Remember when I was dead, mom?" I
Oh.
said Yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
do remember your
yeah,
but that was the only one where it wasn't kind of, yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. So I feel with you, Sandy,
Mhm,
100% because
mhm,
I'm certain I didn't have a dream at all for a
right.
while, and even the first couple I had were not even the most pleasant. So,
Mhm, yeah.
mhm. And the if you wanted to listen to the episode that I did talk to the grief expert on that, on grief dreams, he does talk about ways that you can kind of help yourself have a dream.
Hmm,
And that is to kind of almost script what you would like to dream about and think about it and write it down right before you go to sleep. So if you try to work out what kinds of things you might like to have in a dream,
mhm,
oftentimes if you're thinking about that as you're falling asleep, then it can happen, and then it
mhm.
can, give you some and that'll just be a starting point, right? So you can have that as
Right.
your starting point, and then it,
Mhm,
it goes into other areas. So that might be something to think about. And again, if you wanted to go to the grief dreams episode, he talks a little bit more about that, and he's got a website. He's from Toronto, where you can go on there, and he even has a worksheet that you can kind of fill out with what you might want to dream about, to just like
mhm,
help your body and your brain kind of get in that mindset a little bit.
mhm. Yes.
And I see you wrote, yeah, you're in
Mhm,
so much pain and you need comfort. And I totally understand that. And sometimes I think your brain ends up wanting to protect you a little bit. And that can be
mhm.
a way that it does that, to think that
Right,
maybe I don't want to have dreams. Or, there's a certain percentage of people that will never remember their dreams anyway. So it's not,
right.
I mean, like
Mhm.
Eric, my husband, never remembers his dreams. So he never remembers ever
Right.
having a dream about Andy.
And I've had people who, like, they can't wake up and say they had a dream, but they wake up with a peaceful feeling or wake up feeling like, something happened during their sleep, so mhm,
Mhm, mhm. Oh.
mm.
Well, and somebody else wrote in too that four dreams in 2.5 years. So
Mhm.
just hang in there. We can hope that it will happen.
Right.
All right. So we should probably move on to another one of our little letters here. I am going to go to this one. What did I tell you the order was? Was it
Um,
Sheila next?
yes.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. So here is a message that Sheila sent to me. She said, "Hi, I have a story about a very clear message from my son. Adrian, age 30, took his own life on January 16th, 2021. He had purchased he had purchased a little house for himself 18 months before. So after he died, the house had to be emptied. That job fell mainly to me because my husband and my other two boys did not like being in the house. I, however, felt very comfortable there. I felt like Adrian was there, and this was something I could do for him. I often talked to him there and always felt close to him when I was there. Every day before I left to go home to my own house, I would sit in a chair in the spot where he was last alive. I would talk to him for a few minutes and sometimes just sit quietly and think about him. The chair was close to the front door. The last time I was in the house, just a day before we sold it, I sat in my usual spot. I said out loud, Adrian, I just don't know what to make of all this. At that moment, the front door blew open. I actually laughed out loud and said, okay, I get it. You think I should get out of here and move on. I know this can be explained away. It was a breezy day, and maybe I didn't close the door tightly when I came in, but I choose to believe it was a message from my boy.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And maybe it was a breezy day, but to
But
happen at that moment, that wasn't a
right.
chance.
Well, and just like the story you put up about all the days for that ball
Yes,
to fall in your yard, that's not
the
a
Diego ball.
coincidence. I've
I
just
know.
heard it so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
W
yep.
well, actually, the next story that I was gonna read was given by a mom to me, and she said, "Oh, please feel free to share this and talk about specific, you know, things happening because I'll just read it.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
this her son, he was an adult son, and he was ill. And she said that Rick's doctor had planned a family vacation in northern Michigan when he became more weak. She was reluctant to leave, but I urged her to go, telling her that her partners and her staff would take care of anything that Rick needed. So she left on a Friday, but by Sunday she began to call every day between 5 and 6 p.m. to see how he was doing. So she
What a
knew.
dedicated doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
So she knew that he had went to Sparrow ER on Tuesday and that he was in ICU on Wednesday and Thursday. Then she called on Friday. He was dying. She hung up and immediately prayed for him and our family. She knew that he was in his last few minutes of life, and she also knew that he said that he was Catholic, but that he had always had some lingering doubts about the afterlife. So she asked God to give her some kind of sign or to give me some kind of sign that I know that he had made it to heaven. She was in a fairly rural area, but after she prayed, she looked down and noticed a shiny penny in the grass. She thought that it was an odd answer to her prayer, but when she came to Rick's visitation on Monday, she told me about the prayer and then showed me the penny, saying, I don't know. Is this a lucky penny? And I told her that I knew exactly what it meant. And I told my 3 daughters, or I told my 3 daughters to come over and see it. And one of them went to the photo boards that was at Rick's funeral and brought back this photo. It shows Rick standing in front of a pressed penny machine with a smile on his face and a look that we all knew very well. Whenever he visited a new place that he liked, if there was a pressed penny machine there, he would get that look on his face and ask, do you have a shiny penny? Because he wanted to make a pressed penny as a souvenir of the occasion. I told her that he's letting us know he's in heaven and he likes it, and he is sending us a penny to let us know he's there. The only thing that surprised me is that he hadn't impressed the image of an angel on that penny. The doctor said that she had felt really strange bringing that penny to the funeral home, but I told her that she had received an answer to her prayer and that her faith was strong enough to follow through and give us the penny that meant everything to us. And she actually sent a picture of her son standing in front of a penny machine. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I just love
So,
that.
when this woman said the door blowing open might have been the breezy date, it was a specific. I just
Yeah,
believe it. I
it was
just
a
do.
specific moment. It was
Yeah.
perfect. And that
Mhm.
penny, I mean, to look down and then
Yeah.
there's the penny.
I mean, I'm kinda
And
surprised
I
the
think
doctor
it's
picked
so
it up.
great that she picked it up
Mhm.
and then brought it to the funeral. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know that I would have been so
Yeah.
bold as to bring it to the funeral, but
Mhm.
clearly she felt something like there must be some significance to this penny. And then it turns out it was hugely significant and she had no idea.
Right. Wow. Amazing.
Wow. And I think I don't know, it's cool for me because I'm to hear a story of a doctor like that. It actually
Mhm.
reminds me of my mom. So my mom actually died on the 28th of December, so just 3 days after Christmas. She was in the hospital over Christmas. Her doctor, who had taken care of her for years, who also treated my dad's cancer, my grandpa's cancer, and my grandma's cancer. So he treated 4 members of our immediate family. He was on vacation and he wasn't there.
Mm.
And I remember the nurse saying coming in because then she was discharged from the hospital to go to hospice to die, and she said that she was really glad that he was on vacation and he wasn't there because she said she doesn't think he would have been able to handle it because we were
Oh.
such a special family to him, having
Mhm.
taken care of
Mhm.
4 Petersons,
Right.
that was my maiden name, to have to watch my mom die would have been too much for
Wow.
him to handle. So it
Mhm.
almost was like, I mean, it was beautifully arranged timing all around because I was in the middle of my junior year of college, and so I came home and I was home for college, and then I could spend the rest of Christmas break just in my grief,
Mhm.
really.
Mhm.
And then
And then
and the fact that he was on vacation and all of this. I mean, it's like sometimes things just work out in
Mhm.
a certain way, timing wise,
Right.
just
Yeah.
for what
Well,
people need.
yeah, and being a physician yourself, I mean, just being tuned in to, you know, other doctors and how they, are touched by people's lives and are connected to their patients. I mean, that's something that because you live it. And I would imagine that the stories that you hear, you've heard so many people connections with their physicians and all of that, that it speaks to your heart specifically, I think.
Yeah, I think it does.
Mhm,
Yeah, I
mhm.
think you're right.
Yep.
I did want to take a moment to say, too, at some point pretty soon here, Dana, who
Mhm.
was on the last broadcast or the last podcast, I should say, last Thursday. So just 5 days ago now, Brogan's mom felt like she had a few extra things that she had kind of forgotten to say that
Mhm.
she wanted to add to her story. And then she also had one of these little Godwink stories that she
Uh-huh.
wanted to share. So at some point pretty soon here, she will be popping in. So
Okay,
I think
great.
that will be happening in the next couple of minutes. She's been working. Where I it was a good time to bring it up because she works
Mhm.
in medicine as well, and she works
Right.
with kids with cancer. So she's just coming off a shift and going to be popping in and sharing.
And that
And she
was
says
a
she's here now. Let's
okay.
see. Let's
So
see.
that was part of her story too, and the fact that she had done that and cared for so many people, and then when it
Mhm.
happens to you, right? Yeah.
Um, I'm just asking her if she's in the studio because I don't see her. Otherwise, I will send a
She
new
says, "I'm here."
invitation. I know, but I don't see
Okay.
her coming up though. So anyway, you'll all have to pause with me a
Well,
bit.
okay. Well, do you mind if
You
I say
just keep
something in
talking.
this
Yeah,
then?
if you can
Okay.
keep talking, that'd be great.
Well, partly because when Sandy wrote about being in so much pain and needing comfort, I wanna address that and the fact that Marcy was gracious enough for me to have a few minutes, and we were gonna do this at the end, but I'll do it now while she gets Dana on, that with my grief guide, so you go to grief-guide.com, it's a guided tour with videos through grief that won't take your pain away, Sandy, but having that information oftentimes helps bring comfort because you're normal and you can get some tools and some things to help yourself through. So I was going to make the announcement that it's 50% off during this holiday season, and I don't want, finances to be an issue for someone. So that could be a gift that she could gift herself, or ask someone to gift for her at this time of year. Say, if you want to help me, you can help me purchase that for my support. But the other thing that I just want to say is if any of your listeners, I know they reach out to you and email you, that if they want to talk with me, they can email me as well. And I can let them know about resources because it said here that it was her husband who died. And so somehow on a link or someone shared that we were doing this tonight. I have some resources on my page and would connect with her about resources for widows. So I want her to know that we do care and that we want to connect her to support.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm
Mhm.
glad you took the time to do that. And it is amazing. I mean, just to tell people those videos that you make are so helpful and so
Mm,
good. And
thank you.
two, if finances are an issue for
Mhm.
you too, I still
Let us
have a
know.
couple of the coupon codes left. I
Okay.
think I've given most of them away. Oh, here's Dana. So Dana is in now. So you can always email me if you would like
Okay.
a
Yep.
coupon code because I have a few more left that I
Okay,
bought.
wonderful.
Would love to gift to someone.
Okay.
I'm going to add Dana in on the stream right now. Hello, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
Hi.
I'm glad you made it on. Can you hear us? She
She's
said hi,
not
but
looking like she can.
can you hear? Dana,
Hi.
can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can now. Yes, I don't know that you were hearing me before. So
Hi.
welcome to this little live stream we have going on here now.
Thank you.
Oh. So, why don't you go ahead and I know I mentioned that you felt like you had a few things that you really wanted to kind of add to your story last week. So, why don't you go ahead and do that now?
Okay, I'm getting a lot of.
Hmm.
We can't hear you.
No, we can't now. She did mute herself and then I unmuted her, but
I think she's getting verberation is what it sounds like.
That is what was happening. Let me see. Okay, can you hear me?
Mhm.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Now we're good.
I was on the wrong platform, so that's why I was getting all these echoes. I got
Oh,
it.
okay.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, because we're doing a different platform so that we are on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So if you wanted
Okay.
to just, that was probably our issue. So, okay.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just start with the story that I was going to share about one time that I heard from Brogan, or I think I did. I have to start back when I was a kid. I grew up playing cards with my grandma and grandpa and aunts and uncles and cousins, euchre or pfeffer, and we were high rollers, betting nickels and quarters and dimes. And my grandpa died, I believe it was just 21 years ago, I think. And when he died, he said that he would drop dimes from heaven just to let us know that he's up there. And so kind of whenever we see a dime, we all think of my grandpa.
Mhm.
And then it will be 4 years ago now that my grandma died. And she said, I'm going to one up your grandpa and drop quarters from heaven. Unless I don't like what you're doing, then I'm going to drop nickels. So it's kind of fun with all of our family to find quarters and nickels and dimes.
Mhm.
And the summer before Brogan died, he and Lucy and Emmett, or Violet and Emmett, were sitting on our couch talking about that. They have lots of experiences with the quarters and stuff. And Brogan said, when I die, I'm going to drop big bills. And of course,
Okay.
okay, thanks, but didn't think I would ever be around to find any from him. So he died September of 2019, and in March of 2020, we were over at his friend's house. If anybody listened to my podcast, Brogan was carried from the church to the cemetery with a team of mules on a wagon ride to the cemetery. So we were over at his friend's house who owns the mules, and we were just kind of out in their pasture hanging out. It was, like I said, March, so still snow on the ground, but starting to melt, just wet, muddy mess, terrible. And there was 3 families there. Everybody went up the hill back to the house first, and myself and Brogan's friend's dad, Pat, we kind of stayed down at the shack down in the ravine for a few extra minutes, putting out the fire and just kind of making sure everything was picked up. And he and I were down there with 2 mules, and we started riding them back up the hill 3 minutes after everyone else, up the same muddy, mucky, complete mess of a path. And Pat was ahead of me, just a few feet ahead of me, and out of the sky, a brand new, crisp, never ever touched, not a crinkle, not a speck of dirt on it, $10 bill floated down from the air. And I saw it hit the ground, and it could not have been there. Like it couldn't have been there for more than a second, because it would have been wet and muddy. And I mean, Pat jumped off his mule and picked it up, and it was, like I said, brand new. And there's just, to me, there's just no other explanation. Like 20 people just trekked through there and nobody saw it. I don't think so. Plus it couldn't have been that brand new. And the serial number on it started with a B.
Oh, that is amazing.
I love that.
Wow. Do you have it like
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. My friend Pat thought he saw, I mean, I saw it first, but I was speechless. I couldn't say anything. So he jumped off, showed it to me and put it in his pocket. And then he had a
Did
conversation.
he know? Did he
No,
know?
no,
He wouldn't have
didn't.
known the significance,
Nope,
right?
he didn't know. So I didn't say anything. And like 3 days later, I saw him and he reached in and pulled it out of his pocket. And if you know Pat, he's just a hot mess. So he picked this crinkled, wrinkled up, ratty old $10 bill. And he's like, I should have given this to you because you're the one who found it. And then that's when I told him the story. And he was like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me that day?
I should have been crisp and beautiful.
Right. So I have it. I flattened it back out, but it's
and Broken was probably looking down from heaven like, Mom, pick that up. I sent that nice
I have to hit you in the face with it next time, Mom. Right?
Yeah. Oh.
Don't let somebody else take your $10. That was for you.
So I think I have $50. I don't really remember the other. I found two 20s. I don't remember them being as like significant.
Well, it was. I mean, you can't get more dramatic than that.
Yeah, that was just
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Dana.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that.
And writing that down so your children know that and other people, that's just a beautiful story to have as a treasure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You got quite the comments. People are very excited about that story because that is really awesome. I love it.
Figure. There. Now I can. I'm just looking to see these.
Now you can look and see them too, can't you?
Okay. Yes. Now I can.
Now you can.
Awesome.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So did you want to share a little bit more about Brogan too? Because I know we went through your story and you felt like some of that you didn't talk about. I don't know.
I know I have to try to think of the email because I know that I did email you and the write-up on your website was beautiful. And that's kind of everything that I didn't get to say.
Oh,
I think you were talking about right away. You were talking about how in the beginning, in those first days, just being, I mean, I guess I did sort of talk about it in the write-up too, about just being just so incredibly numb and that you felt like you maybe didn't express that in the way that you might have wanted to, about just how that is so normal, that to just feel like you can't really do anything,
Yes, exactly. Just completely shattered and autopilot. And it's just like, I don't even know how, but somehow you just do what you need to do without, I don't know, thinking. It's just so dark and empty. I'm terrible at explaining it, and maybe that's why I kind of skipped over it in my interview. It just, and like you just said, just normalizing that it's such an empty feeling.
Yeah. I have a lot of parents describe it to me that they feel like they're doing what they need to do, but they're not really doing it. They're like watching an out-of-body experience. They're watching themselves function, but yet their heart and their minds are not functioning. But somehow your body's on automatic doing that.
That's out-of-body experiences. It's like you're looking in on someone else's life.
Yes, exactly.
It just is unreal.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying too, this was in a different email, about how, like some of the things you did and you helped and you could plan the funeral. And then when came time to like put the pictures together and do like a video and things like that, you just sat there. You were just like sat there. And I couldn't do any of that either. The video they put together, I don't know, they got stuff from my computer, our home computer somehow, and it's on like a flash drive. I've never even been able to watch it. And I didn't do it at all. I mean, a woman from my Bible study, who actually I didn't even know that well, did it for me. And I just, as far as pictures, we didn't do a board. People went through my house and took down all the pictures I had of my kids and all the pictures I had of Andy and just put them up because I couldn't do anything else. I mean, to try to do that was just impossible for me. So that's what it happened in our house. Honestly, they just came off the wall and off of desks and off of places and just were put up. So you just can't. I mean, it's amazing that some people can.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
More than like being disappointed in yourself for not being able to do it. I think the ones that can, that's amazing. But if you can't, that's honestly more normal.
Yes.
Yeah. I would
You were going to say something, Gwen.
Yeah. It's more of a curiosity in how many people actually have videotapes of the funeral service or of, people have taken photos that they know are there if they need them, but really haven't had the need to watch them. But yet that it's there if you need to. But it's like you just don't remember a lot of that. But having that record of it, at least it makes us feel better that if I want to. But I'm just curious, many people I don't think feel the need to go back and watch that. It's too painful.
Well, right. I think that's it. That's it, Gwen. It's the fear that it's going to be just too painful to do.
Yeah.
And that's what it has been for me. It's just that I'm just afraid that I'm not going to be able to. So
same. I actually, one of my brother's friends, I don't even know who has it, but I know that my brother had someone record the funeral for me. And I thought about watching it, but I'm afraid of what it will do to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched a little bit of ours. It's on YouTube. It's on actually the
that's
YouTube
right.
channel.
Yes.
Yeah. But I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of it, but it just ends up getting to be too difficult.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to start reading a few of these other things that we have too. Dana, if you want to stay on with us and make comments, you certainly can.
I would love to.
Pop off.
I've got about 5 minutes, and then I got to go get my little guy from wrestling. But
okay, we'll stay on for 5 more minutes. But I have a great story here from Laura that I just love. This is one of my very favorites. So, after Luke died, and as a reminder, Laura has also been on. She is Luke's mom, and Luke. So there was Luke Luke and then Luke Luc, which I cannot pronounce the way that I should be able to pronounce it. It's French Canadian, but this is Luke Luke. So after Luke died, there was a full bright rainbow in the sky that afternoon. I did not see it myself, but a few people told me about it, and one person sent me a picture of it because she thought it was in honor of Luke. Interestingly, there was also a rainbow on the day of Andy's funeral that his aunt and uncle saw on the drive back. So I thought that was fun too. On the day of Luke's burial, the day after his memorial service, some yellow irises in our backyard were blooming. It was September 14th, 2017. Yellow was Luke's favorite and signature color. There were staff at the hospital where he was treated for 2 years who commented on how he always came in with a yellow pillow, yellow blanket, and usually wearing yellow clothing. But we had only lived in this house for 6 months, so we did not plant these yellow flowers. I guess God had them planted for us before we even owned this house. And these irises had already bloomed in the spring that year, right after we had moved in. Irises don't usually bloom twice in 1 year. And these particular plants haven't bloomed twice in a year since. And this has been several years now. It felt like God's grace on me, like he was expressing how special and unique Luke was and how fragile and beautiful his life was, a life that made its mark on the world and would be remembered. Luke was in treatment for cancer for 2 years before he went ahead to heaven. The children's hospital where he was treated was 1 hour and 15-minute drive from our home. Luke and I drove that route together many, many times over these 2 years. We would often listen to a playlist of Luke's favorite music during these drives. One song on that playlist was called If I Die Young by the band Perry. The song describes a young woman's wishes if she died young in her teen years. I tried to keep my tears in when we would listen to it on our trips together so as not to upset Luke. But I was afraid one day this song would be the story of my precious son's life. It was about a month after Luke passed that I heard this song again. I was driving in my car on the country roads not far from my home. The first verse goes like this: Lord, make me a rainbow, and I'll shine down on my mother, and she'll know I'm safe with you when she stands under my colors. Oh, and life ain't always what you think it ought to be. Ain't even gray. She buries her baby, the sharp knife of a short life. Well, I've just had enough time. There was a curve in the road as this verse began. As I turned into the curve, I looked up and saw a brilliant rainbow peeking through the clouds. It had not rained recently and wasn't very big, but was so bright, peeking through the clouds, and it felt like God was doing exactly what the singer in the song was singing to me. God wanted me to know that Luke was indeed safe in heaven with him. I like to imagine how excited Luke would have been to get to shine like a rainbow on me while this very song that we had listened to together dozens of times played. I can almost see the joy and laughter in his face as I think about it. It says, thank you for reading about God's signs from heaven he sent me. I'm so grateful to you. Those were all just so beautiful.
They were.
I mean, to have those irises never bloom in September.
Right. Yeah. Well, and how many times did we hear today in the stories, like it wasn't raining, and the one where that she was at the cemetery, and then this one, like, where did this come from? It came directly to us, like the $10 bill. It was meant for you.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's beautiful. Dana, I know you said you had to leave soon, but I hope you were able to see the comment from Tama about how were you able to read that on the side there? Yeah, how your story.
Yes, I actually just wrote down. I was reaching for a pen to write down her name to reach out to her after.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We just have no idea how the message and how brave all of you moms and dads are who have shared your story, that you can help other people. And we're talking about hope tonight. And one of the things that I tell people about hope is you have to borrow it when you don't have your own. And one of the ways you can borrow it is from people who are further along in the journey. So you can ask them, tell me, and these people, so whatever your story gave hope to someone else, and everybody's story has just spoken to people, and I love that about this.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dana. If you need to go to wrestling, you go ahead.
Actually, my husband just ran out the door to get him. So
good.
So you're still with us a little longer.
Good.
Very good. Well, very good.
Through my tears, I'm wondering if I have to.
Oh my goodness! I thought I was going to have you finish reading that one for me, Gwen, because I couldn't do it. But then I looked up, and you were not much better off than I was. No. So
my glasses kind of hide it. But this next one, I'm trying to see. It's from Diane, and her son Josh. She said, "My son Josh passed on June 9th, 2016. He is forever 30. He was diagnosed with colon cancer in October of 2014. At the time, he and his wife were 5 months pregnant with their first child. Josh was able to be present at the birth of their son and get to know him for 17 months before he passed. A couple of days after he transitioned, his wife decided to take a walk on some trails that she and Josh hike often. She took their son, their 2 dogs, and a friend of theirs. While on the walk, there was a woman that Kelsey had never noticed before walking her dog. This woman's dog was lovingly playing with Kelsey and Josh's dog and asked Kelsey if she would mind if they walked along with her. Of course, Kelsey agreed. Eventually, the path split and the woman said goodbye and thanks. And as she walked away, she called her dog, Begley. Begley is our last name. Kelsey never saw that woman again. Definite Godwink.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I read that, it kind of just makes like angels among us. Like sometimes people come and
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just incredible.
Lovely.
And that's not a very common. I've never heard of a dog named Begley.
No, I haven't either. I was
wondering where you were going with this.
Right. It's not like Rover.
No.
Right.
I mean, it almost would have been like wanting to shout back a little bit, like,
Oh yeah, I would
really,
chase her down.
where,
Yeah.
but it's kind of neater in some ways that she just didn't, because
Right.
then you just
Never saw her
think of
again.
it as,
Then you get an explanation, and this way you can.
this way you don't, and you
Right.
don't really want one, right? You
Mhm.
don't really.
Well, and she also said it was just a few days after. So, I mean, again, we were just talking about that numbness and the out of body experience. I
Uh-huh.
mean, for this mom and just, walking along, it was probably one of those things that after the woman left, she's like, what just
Just
happened?
happened.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
Sort of like the Diego ball again, right? I mean, the Diego balls just falling on the day of
Yes,
Andy's funeral.
absolutely.
You know what's really
Absolutely.
funny too is that I was up north. I'm up north at my cottage up north, and my husband's still at our main house. And I said, after I posted that, I said, oh, I want to post this to Instagram, the story too, but I need a picture. This is one thing that drives me crazy about Instagram, because I don't like doing the picture part. So I thought, well, I need a picture of the Diego ball. And I told Eric, like, I'm sure it's probably in the garage. Look in the garage. We moved it because it fell and it landed in the yard. And and I remember, I think I sent Peter out to get the Diego ball because it was just so profound. And if you didn't read it, it is on Facebook. I posted that this ball had been stuck in the tree and the boys had been playing around with it and kicking it high and high. And it was like 3 stories up and stuck in this tree. And it was there for over 2 years and then just crazily came down on the day of the funeral. So I sent either Peter or one of their cousins out to grab the ball, but it just made it to the deck and it's been sitting in a flower pot ever since. So for 3.5 years, because I knew that it happened, but yet I didn't really want to deal with the ball. And then Eric's like, it's really dirty. We try to wash it a little before we take a picture of it. And I said, yeah, if you can wash it up a little bit and put it in the garage. But it did. So he took a picture of it and sent it to me. So I hadn't even seen the Diego ball really since. I saw it fall, but that's all I saw. And it was very powerful to me just to even see the Diego ball again and little smiling Diego on there. But
well, and the fact that it stayed in the flower pot for 3.5 years.
It's been blown away again. I know.
Yeah.
It's on the tree, but it was still in the flower pot. It was still in the backyard.
Yeah.
Because my husband said, I don't think it ever made it to the garage. And I said, well, maybe it's in the basement. And he said, it's too dirty. You wouldn't have let it come in the basement. So
someone said the Diego ball looked brand new.
I know. Demetra. And Demetra is the next story that I'm going to read now too.
Oh, yay.
She thinks the ball looked new. So Eric apparently did a good job cleaning the ball. If you look at it, there are a lot of cracks. It's not looking that great. So the next story is from Demetra. So all of you who are watching now or listening later or watching later know that next week on the 28th of December at 8 p.m. at the same time, we will be having another live stream. This one will not include Gwen. This will include Demetra, my friend Stephanie, and my friend Chrissy. And Chrissy, I think, also might be watching right now too. I think she is on. But anyway, it will be the 4 of us talking about kind of a little bit of a Christmas wrap up and post Christmas and how things went and how things are changing. So Stephanie she's 4 years out. I'm 3 years out. Chrissy's 2 years out and Demetra's 1 year out. So we're all kind of a little range. Nobody's real far yet, honestly, but it's just the 4 of us moms. We had 2 of us lost daughters, 2 of us lost sons, and we will just be kind of talking about how Christmas went and how things change and things like that. And also, if you have questions for any of those 3, because they've been guests on obviously before, feel free to come with those kind of questions as well. But for now, I have a story. I have a fun story from Demetra. So for quite a while, my friend Janita and myself have been envisioning a beautiful winter planter for Eleni's spot at the cemetery. We also felt we could convert this planter into a spring and summer one when the time comes. I had told Janita I had wanted what I had wanted, and she was on a mission to find it for me and her Queen Linlin. That's what she likes to call a Lenny. So anyway, Queen Linlin. So after work one day, Janita yelled, "Come here, I found it." She'd been frantically searching for a while and now found the perfect planter for our little angel. I absolutely loved it. I said, "Where is it? And when can we see it?" Janita explained that she had found it on Facebook Marketplace and she was messaging the seller. I told her I can't go alone as I'm always very leery of these exchanges. She said, "We can see where it is and go together." The guy responded saying it was located and she gave the address. I knew that address sounded so familiar. And when he sent us a picture of where to go and see the planter, I realized that the unit was located right behind Holy Land Monuments, which is where she got Eleni's crown, which is her tombstone. So she calls it her crown. So it was right in the backyard of where she got the tombstone. It was simply meant to be. Janita and I could not believe that was the location where we finally found Eleni's new beautiful planter. It was as if she sent us there to get it for her. This was my sign that my sweet angel is still with us always. Oh, isn't that so special?
It is.
I love that.
It's amazing.
I know. I know. I just love that.
And I think when you were saying her friend's name, she also was one who commented that friend helped her with the pictures
Yeah.
up above. And as you're reading it, I'm like, friends through all of this, whether it's the pictures or the, they're just so valuable. They're just part of our treasures as well. And I think sometimes when we don't see a lot of Godwinks, we can look around to our friends and realize that just having them is a big treasure.
And right. And honestly, that can be our Godwinks too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That phone call that comes when you need it, or that text at that moment when you're like, oh, I'm hanging on and a friend texts you. It's like, oh, there it is.
And you know what? It's interesting that you say that with Demetra specifically, because one day recently I had gone to an event, and it was the first event we'd gone to since the pandemic. And it was a ton of people, and I got almost an anxiety attack. I was just overwhelmed. I just had to get out of there. I ended up asking Eric if I could leave and just drive home, and he could get a ride home with someone else later because I couldn't stay. And I went in the car, but I knew I couldn't drive right away either because I was just so upset. And I sat down in the car sobbing now by myself. And suddenly Demetra writes me on Messenger. At that exact moment.
I love it.
It's the moment I needed because and she talked me up without realizing it. I didn't even tell her how bad I was for a little bit. Like, we had a little bit of an exchange because I was like, I don't really want to put this on her. And then we went back and forth a little bit. And then I kind of finally admitted that I was in a really bad place. And she brought me up to the point where I could drive home. I mean, it's amazing what, and that honestly was a Godwink.
Absolutely.
I mean, that she picked that exact moment. That was arranged. That was like arranged. So I love it. I love it.
I do too. Absolutely.
Well,
totally
we have
agree with
almost no time here too. Oh, sorry, Dana. What were we going to say?
I was just going to say, I totally agree with that. Kind of going back a little bit to my friends making poster boards for me at Brogan's funeral. They did so much more than that. And I'm really type A, and I wanted everything to be perfect, but I couldn't even give them my opinion. And they made like 3 or 4 beautiful shadow boxes, like not just pictures. They made one from all of his baseball stuff with his glove and jersey, and there were some pictures in it. They did another one with Boy Scouts things in it, and another one from a trip that we took. And it was like, they were gifts. They are gifts from God, and they just like especially shown that particular night when we sat at my house. There was like 5 or 6 of them on my living room floor, working so hard at that.
Yeah.
It just,
and the care and the creativity when you had none and they had it for you.
I still cared so much about what the final presentation would be, but I couldn't. Yeah, they were sent from God.
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, we better wrap up here too, because we've been on almost an hour, and we did want to share one more thing, and it's something actually that was shared a couple of years ago on the original one, because it was sent by Marcia, and she wrote it out, and she wrote it out as the best Christmas of all 2009. Do you want to go ahead and read part of that there, Gwen?
And then do you want to read part?
With I don't know. Do you want to just start with the second paragraph?
Sure.
I think she's talking about just Christmas.
Yeah, their pain without their, yes. So I love where she said, but I'm baffled too at how pain and joy can coexist. As we walked out of the sanctuary, many people were greeting each other with Merry Christmas. Each one of them had their own story that most likely includes some pain. I wondered how many were really that merry. I felt emotions well up within me, and I fought back the tears on our way back to the car. As we approached our car, I looked up to see a flock of geese flying directly overhead, honking freely in the cold, gray December sky. Matt was beginning to learn to goose hunt before he passed. Geese had been our gift from God after Matt's death, and they still fly over in the most needed times. As I got in the car and the tears began to flow, I covered my face so that all the happy people wouldn't be able to see me, because who cries at Christmas? As Perry turned the key in the ignition and the radio came on, the first words we heard were angelic voices singing Breath of Heaven. The song Mary, the mother of Jesus, may have prayed. It continues as this. Did you want to read that part, Mercy?
Sure. And what's funny is that she wrote to me this past Sunday, and I was trying to remember the name of this song that day, and then she sent me the email. So Breath of Heaven, because it's just a beautiful song. So it's Breath of Heaven, and I feel like I want to sing it, but I won't. Breath of Heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of Heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Do you wonder as you watch my face if a wiser one should have my place? But I offer all I am for the mercy of your plan. Help me to be strong. Help me be. Help me. I cried as I drove off, listening carefully to the words of that song. I prayed the song while it played, hold me together. Be forever near me. I was reminded again of how pain and joy can coexist, how God must love us to give us these gifts today. A song with just the words we needed to hear, and the geese flying over our remembrance of Matt.
That's beautiful. Absolutely,
it was beautiful. And I think a beautiful way to kind of end today, just with those little messages. So thanks you to everyone who's been watching and listening. And again, know that we are doing something similar next week. Oh, Melissa wrote a beautiful comment that I feel like, Gwen, do you want to just read that out loud so the podcast people won't be able to see this? So.
This past summer, I went on a girls' trip that I had planned months before my daughter passed away. The last time I was in this hotel, I was with my kids, and I could vividly remember seeing my daughter standing on the balcony looking at the sea. I didn't tell my girlfriends about this memory because I didn't want to damper the mood. The next day, my friend woke up and told me my daughter came to her in her dreams, and when I asked her what she was wearing, she said a striped shirt when she was on. And then I can't read anymore.
Oh, let me see. Oh, you know what? I can't either. But
yeah,
but I'm assuming that it was the same
outfit. Yes,
I'm assuming it was the same outfit.
That. Yeah.
I don't know if Melissa's still on. She can finish, but yeah, that's my assumption. She was wearing the same striped shirt that she actually had been wearing that
amazing?
Day.
Amazing. All these beautiful things.
Yeah. So thanks so much again for agreeing to come back, and Gwen for coming on. So
of course,
come on next week and listen to four of us talking again, and then Gwen will be on again with me. And Melissa did just right. She was wearing the same shirt. Yeah, that's exactly what we had guessed. So again, Gwen will be on again in the first week of February, I believe. So watch for that as well.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, you guys.
Good night.
Good night.